Some loves are protected by walls, promises, and places to return to. And some loves have nothing. No home, no certainty, no safety, except two hearts refusing to let go. Their love did not begin where hearts usually feel safe. It was not born in ease or wrapped in assurance. It began in hesitation, in unanswered questions, in moments where both of them wondered if feeling this deeply was a mistake. There were no guarantees placed gently between them, no soft promises of forever whispered without fear. What existed instead was uncertainty, raw, unpolished, and frighteningly honest. They fell in love while standing on unstable ground. Every step forward carried the risk of losing balance, yet neither of them stepped back. Comfort was never an option, choice was. Each day, they chose to feel, even when feeling meant vulnerability. They chose to care, even when caring made their hearts exposed to disappointment. Love, for them, was not a reward, it was a risk they kept taking. The world around them offered warnings instead of blessings. Voices questioned their bond, circumstances challenged their closeness, and silence often replaced reassurance. But in that silence, their emotions grew louder. Love learned to speak through uncertainty, through late-night thoughts, through the quiet understanding that neither of them had all the answers, but still wanted each other in the questions. They learned that love does not always arrive with clarity. Sometimes it arrives confused, trembling, unsure of its place. Yet that did not make it weak. In fact, it made it honest. Their love did not pretend to know the future. It lived in the present moment, in stolen smiles, in brief touches, in the courage it took to say, "I'm still here." There were days when doubt weighed heavier than hope. Days when fear whispered that walking away would be safer. But love born in uncertainty does not rely on certainty to survive. It survives on connection, on the quiet realization that even without comfort, being together felt truer than being apart. This love was shaped by questions rather than answers. It grew in the space between maybe and what if. It did not demand perfection, it asked for honesty. It did not promise ease, it promised presence. And in choosing to love without comfort, they discovered a depth that sheltered hearts never fully understand, where every heartbeat carried intention, every glance carried meaning, and every moment together felt like standing in the rain without an umbrella, trusting that warmth could still exist in open air, in fragile hope, in two souls daring to stay when certainty refused to appear. From the moment their eyes first met across that crowded room, something unspoken passed between them, a quiet recognition that neither could ignore. It wasn't a spark that fizzled in an instant, nor a fleeting curiosity, it was something deeper, a pull that tugged at their hearts like an invisible thread connecting two lost souls. Every stolen glance, every brush of their hands, seemed to echo in their minds long after the moment had passed. She felt it in the way his laughter lingered in her ears, and he felt it in the way her presence filled the silence around him, making even the most ordinary moments feel extraordinary. Love, in its purest form, often comes unannounced, without warning, and for them, it arrived like a gentle storm, reshaping the landscape of their lives without permission. Their days soon became a tapestry woven from small, intimate moments, a shared coffee at dawn, a hurried note left in the pocket of a coat, a touch that lingered longer than propriety allowed. Each gesture was a language of its own, a declaration of a bond that the world outside couldn't fully comprehend. And yet, despite the tenderness, there was a fragility to their connection, an awareness that love this profound often invites obstacles, doubts, and fear. But they were willing to face it all because the alternative, living a life without the other, felt impossible to bear. The very idea of separation, even for a moment, was unbearable. It made their hearts ache in ways words could never capture. They learned each other in ways no one else could. The quiet sighs that revealed hidden sorrow, the laughter that masked a lingering pain, the dreams whispered under the cloak of night, each became a sacred map guiding them through the uncertainty of life. It was a love that demanded patience and courage, yet it gave back in abundance, filling empty spaces in ways neither had imagined possible. And in those moments when the world seemed too harsh, too unforgiving, they found refuge in one another, not a refuge built of walls or safety, but one crafted from understanding, acceptance, and the unshakable belief that together, they could withstand anything. The evenings they spent together became sanctuaries from the world, small islands where time slowed and nothing else seemed to matter. Walking side by side under the fading glow of streetlights, their fingers occasionally brushed, sending shivers down their spines, and every accidental touch carried a weight that neither could deny. Conversations stretched long into the night, filled with confessions that had nowhere else to go, dreams too fragile to share with anyone else, and laughter that seemed to chase away every shadow that dared linger. In those moments, it didn't matter what others thought or how impossible the circumstances seemed, All that existed was the undeniable truth that their hearts had found one another, and that was enough to sustain them. They discovered the beauty of knowing someone completely, even in silence. Sometimes, words were unnecessary, an exchanged glance, a subtle smile, or the simple act of leaning into each other spoke volumes. It was a love that didn't need grand declarations, for the quiet intimacy between them carried more meaning than any spoken promise could. Yet, the world outside often imposed its harshness, casting doubts and obstacles that tested their devotion. Friends whispered warnings, circumstances shifted unpredictably, and yet, through it all, they clung to the certainty that what they shared was rare, a flame that refused to be extinguished. Every challenge they faced together seemed to draw them closer rather than apart. Arguments, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt became opportunities to understand each other more deeply, to navigate the complexities of love that defied simplicity. And in the midst of it, they learned patience, not the passive kind, but the kind that required effort, empathy, and the willingness to hold on even when the path was uncertain. Their hearts, intertwined like threads in a delicate tapestry, endured storms that might have torn others apart. Each shared secret, each gesture of care, became another stitch binding them together, making them stronger, more resilient, and more certain that they belonged to each other in ways that were impossible to articulate. Even the ordinary became extraordinary in their presence. A walk in the park, the taste of shared dessert, a song that reminded them of a moment they had lived, everything became infused with the magic of a love that knew no shelter, a love that found its home not in comfort or security, but in the courage to exist fully, vulnerably, and authentically for one another. There were days when the world seemed determined to keep them apart, when circumstances conspired against the fragile sanctuary they had built together. Yet, even in the face of distance, misunderstanding, and the quiet ache of longing, their love refused to falter. Every letter written in haste, every message sent with trembling hands, became a lifeline across the miles that threatened to separate them. They learned the art of patience in ways few others ever had to. Waiting became not a burden but a testament to the depth of their feelings. Every delayed reply, every absence, only strengthened the resolve to hold on tighter, to nurture a bond that had proven resilient enough to survive storms both literal and metaphorical. Moments of separation taught them the language of yearning. The longing in their hearts, heavy and relentless, became a constant companion, shaping the way they thought, felt, and remembered. In the quiet of night, when the world slept and shadows stretched long across empty rooms, they would close their eyes and imagine the warmth of each other's presence, the subtle curve of a smile, the gentle touch of a hand. It was in these imagined moments that their love grew, stretching across spaces and silences, unyielding in its quiet power. They discovered that love is not only in the presence but in the persistence, in the willingness to feel deeply even when comfort is absent, and in the courage to hope when hope itself feels fragile. Every reunion became a celebration, a reminder that distance could never diminish what was meant to endure. The embrace that followed time apart carried the weight of countless unspoken words and unshared moments, yet it spoke more eloquently than any conversation ever could. They realized that love like theirs thrives not in shelter or certainty, but in the willingness to meet the unknown together, to confront fear and doubt hand in hand, and to trust in the unspoken understanding that binds two hearts. And through it all, they came to understand the subtle, unshakable truth, that love, when it is genuine, demands not only presence but devotion, not only comfort but courage, and above all, the unwavering belief that no obstacle is insurmountable when hearts are committed. Their love was not defined by ease or convenience, it was a force that demanded honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to face the unknown together. Every challenge that arose, whether from the outside world or from the shadows within themselves, became a test of their devotion, yet they faced each with hearts open and spirits intertwined. There was a sacredness in the way they supported each other, not in grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but in the quiet, consistent presence that said, without words, I am here, and I will stay. It was in the gentle reassurance of a hand held during moments of doubt, the patience shown when emotions ran high, and the unwavering faith in each other's goodness that their bond found its deepest strength. They learned that love thrives in the spaces where shelter is absent, where life offers no guarantees, and where each day is a choice to trust and to believe. In the small, ordinary moments, they found the extraordinary, the warmth of shared laughter, the comfort of an embrace after a long day, the subtle understanding that passed between them in a glance. Every challenge faced together only deepened the roots of their connection, weaving a tapestry of memories that was as fragile as it was enduring. And yet, it was the very fragility of their circumstances that made their love so resilient, so beautiful, so undeniably theirs. There were times when fear crept in, the fear of loss, of miscommunication, of the world's judgment, but they met it together, hand in hand, heart with heart. They discovered that courage in love is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it boldly for the sake of something greater than oneself. And in doing so, they created a sanctuary not made of walls, but of trust, understanding, and unwavering commitment. Each shared dream, each whispered secret, each quiet promise became a thread connecting them across the uncertainties of life, binding them in ways that no circumstance could unravel. Their journey was a testament to the idea that true love is not found in comfort or certainty, but in the willingness to embrace life's unpredictability while holding fast to one another. Every storm weathered, every trial endured, every silent sacrifice made for the sake of the other became part of a story larger than either of them alone, a story of passion, resilience, and devotion that defined the very essence of a love that knew no shelter.